I've just started my live. If everybody wants to come in, we're going to start in a couple of minutes. Just, yeah, over here, not over there, over here. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to see if my tag button works. Well, it does. That's very unusual. Let me tag some people right quick. And should I tag you? Slow. I get it wrong.
I do. Okay. It took me many years. I had to start at the beginning. As long as you don't call me.
Okay. Okay, I got a few people tagged. I'm just gonna go with it like that. Not a whole lot. All righty. Excellent. So we good to go?
Yes. You're the one that's leading this show.
Yeah, excellent. We believe in democratic values. We don't like to help people still stand with each other, socializing with each other. We ain't like that. All righty. Good to go?
We are good. Thank you.
Go? All right.
All set.
All righty. As far as who am I? First name Thomas, Thomas, last name Dixon, Dixon. My title is pastor. Okay. Good day. First off, from the press to see, I want to thank you all for joining us for this press conference. I am, as I just said, Pastor Dixon, and I'm standing in a space where I've stood for well over a decade, addressing wrongdoing or potential wrongdoing at the hands of the Charleston County School District Board of Trustees. This is nothing new to me. Not as someone who just won an elected seat as the chair of the Charleston County Democrats, no. I've been fighting this fight within the Charleston County School District for definitely well over a decade. And we are a group of concerned Charleston County citizens who have gathered here today in front of the Charleston County School District office at 75 Calhoun in response to the Charleston County School Board's decision not to question, respond to, or censure Trustee Michele Leber for her recent online activity and the use of pornographic images and language unbecoming of an elected school board representative. Well, actually, images and language unbecoming of any public official, as a matter of fact. Now, I want to make one thing perfectly clear as we get started, okay? The topics that we will be discussed today, these are the exact same positions that we've held from the day Mrs. Leber shared that content on social media. We have not changed our position. Never once have we addressed nor thought about addressing the intricacies of whatever is going on in Mrs. Leber's life. That's her business. That's not what we're here to do today. But we are here to say that no matter what the circumstances or how much her heart was broken, her response, sharing pornographic images and lewd language on social media on her public social media page is unacceptable and deserves to be addressed by this board. Our community leaders do not have the luxury of having lapses in their professional judgment, even in cases of extreme duress, as was the case in this incident. Our children are watching, and they will follow the standard of behavior that we set. Children today do not respect, nor do they adhere to that old saying of the past. Don't do as I do as I say. And they shouldn't. On the contrary, they should be able to expect and even demand behavior from adults that models and reflects the family values that we say that we are trying to instill in them. But when our children see bad behavior modeled by those who have charge over them, they will think that this is acceptable behavior, never adding in the circumstances that precipitated that action. The children who might have access to Mrs. Leber's actions last week will never stop to add in what got her to that point. They will just see what she did. And we're also here, because it's not just that, we're also here to say that in the aftermath of this incident, it's truly a shame that the Charleston County School District Board Chairman, Keith Grybowski, and 6 of his Charleston County School District Board members, that their refusal to address this behavior, it actually exposes a problem in this board's decision-making process. That is, that this board, comprised predominantly of Moms for Liberty-backed trustees, is once again displaying publicly an extremely troubling pattern of bias, hypocrisy, and a double standard when addressing how the actions of board members are addressed. With that being said, I want to start by addressing the recent online activity and use of pornographic images and lewd language on social media by Charleston County School Board member and elected official Michele Leber in response to her personal trauma. Let me reiterate, I'm going to make this perfectly clear. We have no intention, nor do we desire to address Mrs. Leber's personal life. Our position is one of empathy for her, and we wish that she never would have had to endure the pain that she's had in her heart. But we cannot overlook the fact that 1 week ago, in her pain, Trustee Leber's behavior online was not just unprofessional, it violates the very standards that elected officials are expected to uphold. Again, I want to reiterate, we are not here to talk about Mrs. Leber's personal life. A victim in a household where a husband's infidelity apparently pushed a loving, supportive wife over the edge. No, if anything, we're here to applaud her, actually, for her finding the courage to speak out. But she did it in the wrong way. Since being elected to the Charleston County School District Board, Moms for Liberty-backed trustee Michele Leber has been a big voice in the boardroom for family values, seeing and pointing out books with what she and her Moms for Liberty proponents say contain pornographic material. Books that she herself and her Moms for Liberty friends might have even read growing up. But they were somehow able to still find their family values in their hearts, even though they probably read these books. Last week, Trustee Leber used her public platform to share pornographic images with commentary that was laced with lewd language, the same kind of images Trustee Leber argues vehemently against and votes to keep our children from seeing. But a public page on social media automatically shares images. I don't know whether she realizes this, but once you put something on your public page, it automatically shares those images with our friends. And those images can be seen by their friends and their friends' friends. And some of those images and some of that language that she used could have inadvertently found its way into a Charleston County School District student's page or view, or be seen by a child viewing their parents' Facebook page without Trustee Leber's knowledge. You see, that's a lack of that due diligence necessary that goes along with whatever positions we hold in life. And in spite of this, though, this board has chosen to remain silent. Even though this same board previously attempted to publicly censure another trustee for far less, and in spite of there being no policy violations or inappropriate public behavior. And let's be clear, their silence makes them complicit, and their inaction is unacceptable. The last point in the Charleston County School District Policy BCA, Board Member Code of Ethics, states that the board shall have the authority and responsibility, not just the authority, but the responsibility to apply these standards of conduct, and that board members shall honor the high responsibility that his or her membership demands by doing the following. The last point says, conforming to a standard of civility in interactions with other board members, employees, students, and the public, as to treat all persons with dignity and courtesy. Profanity, threats, threatening job termination, or abusive language is prohibited, and if used, may subject a board member to the public reprimand, and if repeated, constitutes cause of removal from office through the procedures as outlined in South Carolina Code of Conduct, Code Section 59-19-60. So in the matter of Charleston County School Board Chair Keith Grybowski and the decision that was made not to comment on or censure Trustee Leber for her online activity, this board has historically had no problem operating this public entity under separate but equal conditions. Here's one example. In its apparent move to create a system within Charleston County School District that totally supports their Moms for Liberty value system and agenda, in September of 2023, the board removed 5 members of the Health Advisory Committee. But 1 month later, they decided to revisit the motion, and then on November 13th, both in executive session and in open session, the outcome remained the same. The removal of 5 members of the Health Advisory Committee. So now I'm going to turn this over to one of the veteran board members and members of the Health Advisory Committee, who was removed actually in the takeover. And I'm going to ask her to elaborate a bit more on that. This is Dr. Bonnie Cleveland.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Cleveland, CLEAVELAND, and I am a former Health Advisory Committee member. The extreme right in South Carolina believes in freedom of speech, liberty, and fidelity for them, but not for anybody else. They believe children should be protected, but not from themselves. Laws and punishment to the super conservatives are only for others and not for them. And you heard Pastor Dixon talk about the Health Advisory Committee. When they removed the 5 of us from the committee, they did not give us due process or make allegations of wrongdoing, which was not following their own rules that are set up for committees under the Charleston County School Board District policy. Far-right politicians who dominated South Carolina politics for decades routinely accuse everyday citizens like librarians, parents, and teachers without evidence of immoral behavior. Former Moms for Liberty board member Ed Kelly said he'd shoot a teacher, and although they censored him, he continued his work just the same. After that, he spearheaded a policy that would prohibit teachers from even talking about sexual orientation and gender, calling it grooming. The Moms for Liberty-backed school board members around the country attempt to ban books and suppress discussions of Black history. But when school board member Carlotta Bailey made bigoted statements against LGBTQ and Black students, they didn't even censure her. To them, liberty is not for people with more empathetic and realistic views of humanity. Liberty and free speech are only reserved for the far right. State Representative R.J. May was another hypocritical Freedom Caucus champion of children, saying on the House floor, we as legislators have an obligation to ensure that our children have no harm done to them. He was indicted on child pornography charges. State Senator Matt Leber campaigned on traditional values, saying, family is the bedrock of our society and therefore a natural target for the radical left. He promised to continue to safeguard the sanctity of the family. His wife very publicly accused him of violating his marital oath with a Republican strategist. Moms for Liberty and the Freedom Caucus believe that values and rules are only for everyone else. Matt Leber insisted that state and county boards and commissions take an oath or be punished. His oath to his wife, Michele Leber, however, didn't change his own behavior. Moms for Liberty and the Freedom Caucus believe fidelity to oaths is only for adversaries. School board member Michele Leber, when campaigning, insisted, "Our children deserve an education system that is managed professionally." Calling a well-regarded sex education book pornographic material, she also said, "As a member of the Charleston County School Board, it is my duty to protect children, and that is exactly what I will do." But she publicly posted a male crotch shot and called another woman a sexist slur. She apparently believes others should be professional, but not her. She seems to believe that crotch pictures are okay for her to post publicly, but that sex education is pornographic. Sadly, these are not the only conservative politicians who claim to protect women and children but get caught with their pants down. They accuse their opponents of what they themselves are doing. I hope, and we all hope, that the voters of South Carolina will be more suspicious of these extremist politicians who repeatedly and without evidence accuse innocent South Carolinians of harming children, while they are harming children. Something on their side of the aisle is truly rotten.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you. Yeah. Now, of course, when the incident occurred with the Health Advisory Committee, current chair Keith Grybowski was not the chair at that particular time. He would assume the chair position later on in that year in 2023. So here's what happened on Grybowski's watch as CCSD board chair, and something I referenced earlier. On June 24th of last year, 2024, 1 year ago, Chairman Grybowski attempted to censure board member Darlene Dunmire-Robeson in what Trustee Dunmire-Robeson said was, and I quote, "an attempt to politically assassinate my character, dim my light, to silence my voice, to silence the collective voice of my constituency." And as Pastor Dixon and a community advocate and somebody who has stood in this position in opposition to what goes on inside of 75 Calhoun many times, I agree exactly with what she said. And the reason being, it was one big bogus attempt at censuring Trustee Dunmire-Robeson with no foundation whatsoever. Chairman Grybowski, he literally accused Trustee Dunmire-Robeson of violating CCSD policy because she asked the district's lawyer a question without the board's approval. Without getting too much into the details, a district lawyer concluded that there was no rule that prevents a board member from asking questions. And when a final vote was taken on Grybowski's ludicrous motion, it failed. There was absolutely no legitimate or legal reason for Grybowski to censor Darlene Dunmire-Robeson, who is not a Moms for Liberty-backed trustee. But we stand here today with the same chairman, Keith Grybowski, who is a Moms for Liberty-backed CCSD trustee, refusing to censor or even comment on the actions of Michele Leber for her lewd language and sharing of pornographic images in a public forum online. And did I fail to mention that Michele Leber is also a Moms for Liberty-backed CCSD trustee, right along with Keith Grybowski? Is there some favoritism going on? Is there some separate but equal going on? Why was Darlene Dunbar Robeson targeted, not only targeted, but actually censored for nothing? And it was proven because the motion failed. But here we have another board member who just happens to be on the same side of the aisle as Keith Grybowski. All of a sudden, no, I'm not going to say anything about that. We're not going to censor her. As a matter of fact, we're not even going to make public comment about it. And it's apparent that the board chair and Moms for Liberty trustee, Keith Grybowski, has no problem running his board under separate but equal practices. Darlene Dunbar Robeson asked a question that did not violate CCSD policy. Michele Leber violated CCSD BCA policy by failing to honor the high responsibility that her membership demands. But Grybowski and 6 of his other board members, 2 of which are not Moms for Liberty board members, let me make that perfectly clear. Grybowski and 6 of his other board members are following along in lockstep with this clear Jim Crow separate but equal discrimination. I guess what was good for an innocent Darlene Dunbar Robeson is not good for Moms for Liberty Michele Leber. And that is discrimination. And in reality, maybe it is Keith Grybowski who actually needs to be censored and possibly removed for favoritism, discrimination, dereliction of duty, something. Because he's definitely not operating with integrity, honesty, or above board. He has an agenda that Darlene Dunbar Robeson did not fit, but Michele Leber, she fits it. Charleston County School District Policy BCC addressing board member violations states that the board and each of its members are committed to faithful compliance with the provisions of the board's policies. The board recognizes that its failure to deal with deliberate or continuing violations of its policies risks the loss of confidence in the board's ability to govern effectively. Folks, these are elected officials who are charged with the task of leading our children, not only in word, but in practice also. The days of adults telling children, don't do as I do as I say, are over. And our children are watching. And they are learning from us. And they deserve better than the images and double standards that are being presented to them in the ongoing activities of certain members of the Charleston County School Board. One follow-up thing on this issue. There's been online letters that have been sent in to Charleston County School District, to the board, addressing Trustee Leber's behavior last week. To date, as of this morning, letters calling for her censure, possibly even saying for her to resign, number right at 1,122 letters over this last 7 days. But there's a problem. Because somehow, and I'm not a technical wizard, somehow there's been a filter placed on the emails that get through to the board members. So of that 1,122 emails that concerned citizens have sent in expressing their opinion about Michele Leber, her conduct, and what should actually happen to her, of that 1,122 emails that were sent in, only about 50 have gotten through. All the rest are going to spam. All the rest are going to their spam folder. And that's censoring. That's censoring. That's saying we will not allow the voice of the people to be heard because we can technically manipulate the system in order to move that voice into a place where they have to work to get it. And that's just wrong. What's amazing, because there was also a petition also circulated about her husband, Matt Leber. And whereas Michele Leber garnered over 1,000, over 1,100 letters, Matt Leber received 871. But I'm going to just believe that we'll need to leave his petition up longer than Michele Leber's petition, because it's our firm belief that on Monday, this Monday at the board meeting, where Keith Grybowski and his Moms for Liberty cronies, along with the two who are not Moms for Liberties, they will make a conscious decision to put this item up on the agenda for their committee meeting, for the meeting on Monday, which they're refusing to do right now. That's our call to action, that they will add this to the agenda on Monday. It's either that or they can just help call for an emergency meeting and file for the censuring now. Or even put out a public statement. Tell us why it is that you're not going to do it, Keith. Just that simple. You, in all reality, as an elected official, you work for people like us. And there are people like us. There are 1,122 people online who want to know, why is it that you're not following the correct protocol? Why is it that you don't mind breaking down the public trust in what you're doing inside of here? Why is it that your affiliation with this group, Moms for Liberty, appears to take priority over the duty that you're sworn to uphold to as a trustee and the chair of the Charleston County School Board? We want to know. But better still, we don't just want to know, we want you to do something. Something. Michele Leber needs to face some kind of disciplinary consequences, just as you brought against the black woman, Darlene Dunbar Robeson. And we're not going to back down until you do something. Till you do, and our numbers will increase, and we'll keep on putting it out. But again, I would like to actually ask the media present, though, if you would actually maybe look into that email thing. Because again, if I file a FOIA request, even though there are deadlines, we never get responses on FOIA requests, okay? We have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and maybe next year this time we'll get a response. But maybe the media can get some answers on why it is that these emails are going to the board member's spam file, and out of 1,100 emails, only 50 have gotten through. 50 or so have gotten through.
Yeah, I saw that in the document. Where you put that.
That's just wrong. That's just wrong. Now, that portion of the press conference is concluded. And I just want to make a couple of statements about the husband.
Yep.
About the husband. It was already said by Bonnie that he stood up in our Charleston County Council meetings. He's been loud and vocal about an oath. We stand here across the street from the main Charleston County Public Library, where that board, that he wants to swear this oath that he's deemed is necessary. An oath that actually that board never said that they wouldn't take, but the chain of command for them does not go through Matt Leber, it goes through county council. And they say the county council decides for us to do it, we'll do it. Okay? But that's not the issue. The issue is oath taking, where Matt Leber places such a big emphasis on oath taking. But the reality is that when he got married, I think it was maybe 15 years ago, he gave an oath to his marriage. Actually, the oath was to God. This is Pastor Dixon talking now. His oath was to God that he would honor and respect the marital bed. But instead, something inside of this miscreant decided that it's okay for me to go out, even as an elected South Carolina citizen, or senator, that he would actually use campaign donations. It's documented around $5,000, and that's only the part I believe that they can see, in order to court, to wine and dine, and to sleep outside of his marriage with another woman. Now, I don't have any angst about the woman. That's her business. Just like Michelle Leber's business and inside of her household is her business. But this public servant, so-called public servant, who touts family values, traditional values, who is fighting for people to take an oath where they're doing their job even without the oath. This guy decides to step outside the oath that he took before God and to his wife and to bed another woman. There's a pattern of that here in South Carolina. I want to go back to Mark Sanford. I want to go just recently to Jeff Duncan. I want to go back to Strom Thurmond, who for 75 years hid a black child from the world until he died. All Republicans. There is something wrong with them. And I find it laughable, actually, that the Charleston County Republican Party is more interested in making a politically motivated statement about me than they are about addressing the morally reprehensible behavior of their elected senator. Why am I not surprised coming from the party of zero family values? Zero. To date, 7 days later, no one on that side of the aisle has said anything about his behavior. But I guess they won't say anything about him because they don't say nothing about their commander-in-chief either. Now, I could go on with this for a long time, but I'm not. I think I've tied up everybody along the way long enough. But I want this on the record and while I'm live too. And this is me as Pastor Dixon. This is me as the chairman of Charleston County Democrats. This is me as a longtime community public servant and an advocate, much of whom many lies have been told out there that a lot of those people who come against me have believed. The reality is, I don't care what you got to say about me. I don't care how you tell me I have to behave. I'm not that kind of black guy. I'm not going to do what you tell me I need to be doing. I'm going to do what's right for the public and for the people. I will always stand of the people, by the people, and for the people. And there's not a hound in hell or a Republican in a red hat with some words on the front of it that can tell me what to say, what to do, and what not to do. So keep the comments to yourselves. I don't care whether it's on a social media page. I don't care nothing about your opinion. If you voted for the guy in the White House, I don't care what you have to say. You're part of the problem. But I will be respectful. I will continue, as you see, there's no profanity in this. I don't even allow profanity on my social media pages. That's the type of moral compass I work with. For those people who I saw recently on Michele Leber's Facebook page, who says, oh, he's a felon or whatever. I need for them to check the record on Tyler Bessinger and Corey Allen. Corey Allen used to run with the Disciples down in Beaufort and got busted several times in his addictions. And this was in the last 15, 20 years. Bessinger's got a record. Yes, I have a record. I have a record. The last record entry in my record was my release from prison in 2001. It's 24 years ago. Since then, I had one traffic violation. One traffic violation. But the clowns who believe in it, excuse me, I shouldn't say that. The gullible people who believe in what Corey Allen and Bessinger and people like that say, they like to call me a felon. When the reality is, they're guys like Matt Leber, R.J. May, and the list goes on and on and on. And right locally, Bessinger, Corey Allen. Corey Allen, his last name is Whittington anyway. I'm not the problem with the police. They are the problem when it comes to obeying law. And the same thing, it looks like, what happened in this case, as her emotions got the best of her, and the control of her professionalism got the best of her, the trustee Michele Leber made a very bad mistake in going to social media with her personal issues, but in the way that she did, with the lewd language, and with the pornographic picture. Especially since she's been that family value, get pornography out of books that she probably read coming up, been that person. So with that, I guess we can take some questions. I'm sorry.
I guess for broadcast purposes, what would you say in like 2 to 3 sentences the end goal is? Is it to spread information? Is it to get particular people kicked off of the board? Or what would you say the goal is?
Okay, the goal of the press conference, the goal today or the long-term goal? I guess I could clarify that. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you could explain both, I think what today's goal is and then what the general goal is.
Okay, today's goal is, as I said, to ensure that the voice of the people is heard as far as the people wanting to have this to be an agenda item. Charleston County School Board's meeting on Monday. That's the first thing. Unless they settle it before then, addressing the issue and telling us about some type of disciplinary action. Moving forward, the long-term goal is to ensure that people who do not have the best interests of all the children in Charleston County are no longer a part of that board. It's time for them to go. They've been in power for too long. This next year will be 4 years for some, a couple. I think maybe one was just elected, but it's time for them to go and to give our community back to the people, because their agenda is not about the well-being of the children or our community. It's a personal agenda based on a group that's been declared a hate group. It's that agenda. It's the agenda, it's the MAGA agenda, it's the Project 2025 agenda. And this agenda is not healthy for America and for our community. We just want honest people whose focus is the people to sit in these seats. It's just that simple.
And I know that you said you've seen some of these problems throughout South Carolina history, but have you ever seen it directly here in Charleston County before? Some of the problems that you've talked about?
With the school system?
Yes.
Is
this all new?
How much time we got? We have stood inside
in like a few sentences.
Yeah, we stood inside of this room right here more times than we can actually count. We didn't just get the shirts made. We did not just get these shirts made. We've been fighting these people for a long time. The Moms for Liberty people, now for 3-4 years, something like that, inside of it. But aside from that, there was issues with an organization called Coalition for Kids that actually tried to buy their way into our school district in order to privatize it. And they was using some dems too in order to get it done. But we caught on to it, and we raised opposition, and we stood inside of here at board meeting, and we got a little loud, got into some good trouble inside of here. And ultimately, the Coalition for Kids had to march on. Before that, there were many other times. There was a point in 2015, right at the same time that Mother Emanuel massacre took place, where this board was looking to replace its members, right? The superintendent was up for replacement. And after the massacre happened, we asked the board, this is not this seated board, this is the previous board. We've had trouble with these boards all along. We asked that board to hold off on voting for an elected official, a new superintendent, at least until after the funerals were done for the Mother Emanuel massacre. They refused to do it. They had a special session held on a Sunday, and they picked who they wanted to pick, who was Dorita Postlethwaite, who literally, for the time that she was here, collected over $1 million in taxpayer money, and nothing improved in our school system for our kids, because she was trying to push the same privatization agenda as Coalition for Kids. Nothing improved. And the reality is, and let me just tell you about this separate equal thing, right at that same time, we had an African-American woman, a black woman, who was the assistant superintendent at that time, fully qualified to move into that position, applied for that position, but she was overlooked. That woman She left here and she went to Lexington, Kentucky. Left Lexington and went to, I believe it was Birmingham, and ran the public school systems there and turned their public school systems around. As a matter of fact, she became the superintendent of schools in Atlanta. And the Title I schools there have been thriving. We visited some with one of the board members right now, Kevin Holland said this is several years ago. We visited to see some of these Title I schools, to see the work that they were doing, and see if we could duplicate it here. Of course, it got blocked here at the board level. But we went, and it was amazing to see kids in blighted communities, in school, well-behaved, learning, eager to learn. Where did you get these kids from? They said from right across the street, in the hood, as they say. And the way that they invested into these private schools, the first thing they did, because I asked the question, how did y'all get this? They said the first thing we did was we got rid of the old board. We just put it out there. They said we got rid of the old board. But then they started giving power into the hands of the principals, the people who are directly dealing with the children. And ultimately, strengthening the public school system in Atlanta, what happened was in those blighted communities, people started abandoning the private schools and the charters and coming back into the public schools because they're right there neighborhood schools. And we can do that here. Atlanta is definitely bigger and probably more crazy than here. But we can do that here. But it's just sad that we just have not had the right board. Once again, looking forward, we have not had the right board of trustees to get this done. One of the problems we got right now, with this situation right now, in my humble opinion, this is my opinion alone, the two non-Moms for Liberty board members who are not standing with the other two non-Moms for Liberty board members right now about the situation addressing Michele Leber, that's a problem. That is a problem.
Thank you.
I'm going to bite my lip right there.
My camera's almost done with battery, so I'm going to ask if anyone else has any questions.
No?
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you so much. Most appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you for speaking.
Yeah.
And for having us here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, thank you.
So for all of you online, please share this on out. Folks need to know. Folks
One
need to
additional
know.
thing, if you check Michele Leber's Facebook page today, she's amplifying